Okay, let's begin. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, July 13th, and this is the time and place for the regularly scheduled Nevada Gaming Control Board meeting for the month of July. We have Member Watkins on Zoom, and we have our new Executive Secretary, Rupert. Welcome. So let's begin. Madam Secretary, has our agenda been posted in accordance with the open meeting law?
Yes, it has.
We will cover today all of the items noted on our July agenda. Madam Secretary, let's proceed with public comment.
This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming-related matters.
Okay. Anyone wishing to make a public comment, please step forward to the podium and state your name for the record. It looks like we have a comment in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
My name is Diamante Asbury, Diamante, Asberry. Good morning to the board. I'm here today on behalf of the Culinary Union. My comments pertain to executive leadership at Red Rock Resorts, Inc., which is the parent company of Station Casinos. The current chief financial officer for Red Rock Resorts is Stephen Cootie. Mr. Cootie has served as Red Rock Resorts CFO since May 2017. Before joining Red Rock, Mr. Cootie was CFO at Wynn Resorts from May 2014 to February 2017. There are 3 items related to Mr. Cootie's time as Wynn CFO that we wish to bring to your attention. Number 1, according to a 2019 decision and order by the Massachusetts Gaming Commission, 2 Wynn Resorts massage therapists complained 3 times about Steve Wynn's alleged inappropriate conduct over a 6-month period. This period commenced in 2014 and carried into 2015. Mr. Cootie was CFO during this period. The MGC found that the company did not document or investigate these complaints as required by the company's human resources policies, and ultimately Mr. Wynn reached a settlement with one of the massage therapists. We believe the Nevada gaming regulators should find out whether or not Mr. Cootie was aware of the complaint and settlement with this massage therapist. Number 2, also during Cootie's time as Wynn's chief financial officer in 2014, the company used company funds to pay a $9,000 settlement to a former cocktail server who alleged that Mr. Wynn had raped her in 2005. This is according to the Massachusetts Gaming Commission, which also found that no one informed the board of directors of the allegation or the settlement, which was paid with company funds. We believe the Nevada gaming regulators should find out whether or not Mr. Cootie played any role in authorizing the use of company funds to pay the settlement agreement. Number 3, in August 2021, U.S. District Judge Andrew Gordon ruled a case can go forward alleging that Steve Wynn, board members, and top executives at his Las Vegas-based company violated SEC laws and rules through material misrepresentations and omissions. According to Wynn Resorts SEC filing about this case, the court granted in part and denied in part the company's motion to dismiss an amended complaint, dismissing certain of plaintiffs' claims and allowing other claims to proceed against the company and several of the company's former executive officers, including Mr. Cootie. This case is ongoing at present. Nevada regulators should follow this case and determine if future proceedings produce evidence that bears upon Mr. Cootie's suitability to work as a CFO for a gaming license holder. Above all, Mr. Cootie as CFO should be credible. In a separate case in April, Administrative Law Judge Jeffrey Wiedekind of the National Labor Relations Board issued a decision with proposed findings of facts and conclusions of law against Station Casinos. An important part of Judge Wiedekind's role in the case was to assess the credibility of witnesses who testified at trial, including Mr. Cootie. The judge found Mr. Cootie provided highly questionable, discredited testimony while testifying under oath about matters of significance in this case. Although Station Casinos has asked the NLRB to review Judge Wiedekind's decision, the agency will overturn his credibility findings only if clear preponderance of the evidence shows that Judge Wiedekind was wrong. So we urge you to find out what Mr. Cootie did while CFO at Wynn, and we ask you to assess whether Judge Wiedekind's credibility determination bears upon Mr. Cootie's suitability to work as CFO for a gaming license holder. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there additional public comment in Las Vegas? So please step forward, state your name for the record, and let me note that as a reasonable time, place, and manner restriction, we will keep you to 3 minutes. Restrict public comment to 3 minutes. Please go ahead.
Mi nombre es Aristeo Valladares. Yo trabajo como kitchen worker en Sunset Station Casino por 22 años. Soy comité por más de 12 años y estoy en la lucha por mis compañeros y por mí, por la unión, porque queremos un contrato justo, los beneficios igual que el resto de la ciudad que tiene unión. No somos trabajadores de segunda clase. Necesitamos el apoyo de todos ustedes. Gracias.
And I'm going to read what he said in English. He said, my name is Aristeo Valladares. I have worked as a kitchen worker at Sunset Station for 22 years. I have been a union committee for more than 12 years. I am in the fight for my colleagues and for myself because we want a fair contract with benefits just like the rest of the city. We are not second-class workers and we need the support from all of you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vidaros. Is there additional public comment in Las Vegas? Can someone down there give me a thumbs up? I want to make sure I make sure I miss it. Okay.
There are no additional.
All right. No additional public comment from Las Vegas, it appears. Carson City, is there any public comment here? Okay, none here. With that, we'll close public comment. Madam Secretary, the next item on our agenda is the approval of prior month's disposition.
Pursuant to NRS 241.035, this item is the consideration of the approval of the Nevada Gaming Control Board dispositions for June 2022 and the disposition of the special meeting held on June 23rd.
Okay. We've each had the opportunity to review the dispositions, and would either colleagues like?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion, Chair Gibson. I'd like to make this in two motions because I'd like to distinctly memorialize the appointment of our new executive secretary, which does not happen very often, if you don't mind.
Please.
So I first moved for approval of the control board meeting minutes and disposition from June 8th, 2022.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Aye.
And I'd also like to move for approval of the control board special meeting minutes and disposition from June 23rd, 2022, appointing Nicole Rupert as executive secretary of the Nevada Gaming Control Board and Nevada Gaming Commission pursuant to NRS 463.0852A.
Okay.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. And I'd just like to state for the record that if any member of Ms. Rupert's family would ever like to attend a meeting in person, I personally invite them. They're welcome. So with that, Madam Secretary, that brings us to our agenda items. Would you please read in.
Non-restricted number 1 is the application of Travel Centers of America, Inc. for a continuous or delayed public offering.
Okay. Looks like we've already got someone standing at the podium. All right. Would you please state your name for the record?
Good morning, Chair Gibson, Member Katsaros, Member Watkins, Madam Secretary, Greg Giordano, the law firm McDonald Carano, appearing here today on behalf of the applicant, Travel Centers of America, Inc. With me at the virtual podium, appearing via Zoom, is Peter Craig, the Executive Vice President, CFO, and Treasurer of the applicant. Chair Gibson, I'd first like to thank you for allowing Mr. Craig to appear via Zoom from Ohio, the corporate offices, instead of having to be in Carson City, and also to allow me to appear via Zoom, the board video link from Las Vegas.
Mr. Giordano, your client is, he hasn't Zoomed, he hasn't queued in yet. Should we wait for him?
Well, I talked to him about 10 minutes ago. He was online, so I don't know if he's clicked the right thing or whether they've activated his link or not. I'm not sure.
He has been promoted, but he needs to enable his video.
Peter, if you can hear me, please enable your video on your computer. There he is.
Okay, there he is. Wonderful. I've got the full group.
Sorry.
All right, let's go ahead.
Anyway, Chair Gibson, members of the board, we really don't have a presentation this morning. This is the applicant's fourth shelf approval application. And we have happy to answer any questions you may have, but really don't have an affirmative presentation concerning the application before you.
Okay. Thank you very much. We see these shelf applications on a regular basis. They're generally non-controversial. What I'd ask Travel Center's representative is this additional, if you were to exercise the debt or exercise the offering and go to market with shares or accumulate debt through debt offering, would this put you in a precarious position as far as your leverage? Please turn on your audio. think that's the other.
Your audio may
function.
be muted, Peter.
Can you hear me now? Thank
Yes.
you.
I can.
You can tell my technology skills.
I can hear you roughly. Please turn up your volume.
Is that better? Can you hear me?
Not well enough.
No?
Yeah, we are recording, and we have a court reporter as well who's transcribing the events here. So we need to have a good record.
Chair, I can hear him in Las Vegas.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
There you go.
Greg?
Yes.
Okay, great. I apologize for that. Sorry for the delay. Chair Gibson, members Katsaros and Watkins, good morning. Thank you for having me again. Peter Craig, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of Travel Centers of America. Your question, Chair Gibson, no, if we were to exercise this, it would not put us in a precarious position. A couple of things. The sizing of this shelf offering at $750 million would replace largely, if we were to exercise it, about $530 million of existing debt. Secondly, we're our liquidity is incredibly strong. Our balance sheet, we have a fortress balance sheet with over $600 million of liquidity currently that we've been able to amass over the last 2 years through capital markets transactions as well as outstanding performance. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you very much. All right,
Chair
let me
Gibson,
open it to- Yes.
Chair, just to clarify, the 750 million is referring to, I believe, is referring to the size of the federal shelf registration they filed with the SEC. Obviously, it's not with the board and commission, but it is with respect to their federal filing, I believe.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I will open it to my colleagues for questions. Please, Member Watkins, Saros, jump in.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mr. Giordano. I was scratching my head looking through my pages going, where is that information on that? So I appreciate it. Yeah, these are regular or quite standard applications here. I think you mentioned at the onset, this is the 4th time. This is going to be looking for a 3-year approval, which is standard for us. We've had a chance to look at your financial health, as well as some of the ratios and so forth. And I didn't have any other questions for you.
Okay, thank you very much, Member Casares. Member Watkins.
As my colleagues have noted, this is pretty standard and straightforward. I'll just note for the record that our staff indicated that Travel Centers meets the requirements of Reg 16.115 regarding listing of class securities and filing of all reports related to the Securities and Exchange Act. And just to verify, this request is for the maximum 3-year period. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Chair. Mayor Watkins.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Okay, with that, I would ask if you would be willing to make a motion.
I will make that motion, Chair Gibson. I move to recommend approval of non-restricted item number 1 as read into the record by Secretary Rupert pursuant to order of registration draft number 1 dated June 28, 2022.
Okay. Second.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Aye. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Giordano, and thank you to your client for appearing.
Thank you. And before we go, we wanted to thank Board Agent Sean Landcamer for his work on the application. It was a pleasure to work with him, very professional, and we wanted to thank him and commend him for his work on this application. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Comment.
Thank you.
All right, let's go on to non-restricted number 2.
Non-restricted number 2 is the application of Leisure Gaming, Inc. for a transfer of interest.
All right, they're here. Wonderful.
Just one of us.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And you are Ralph, I assume.
I'm actually Ryan.
You're Ryan, I'm sorry. Yeah, Ryan.
Yes. So thank you, Chair Gibson, Member Katsaros and Watkins, Madam Secretary. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. Well, tell us what you're asking to do. What your group is asking.
My father is going to transfer an additional 2.5% to both my brother and myself. It's partly an estate planning and tax planning exercise. My brother and I have purchased a total of 7.5% from my father's beginning in 1998. And so we're just purchasing an additional 2.5%. So we'll each end up with 10% of the company. So
okay. It's a fairly straightforward answer. Thank you for that. And it looks like in addition, as you move, if assuming the transfer is approved, you're going to be reconcentrating the number or the share and value. So you, as opposed to issuing from the 150 to, so it'd be 75 and 75 to you and Kyle. It looks like we're going to we're going to remain at 1,000 total shares.
Yeah, share number will remain the same. My father will go from being a 15% owner to a 10% owner. My brother and I will each go from 7.5% to 10%.
Okay. And so all three of you will be 10% owners.
Correct.
Okay. Wonderful. Right. I have no further questions right now.
And so Ralph is your dad and Kyle's your brother.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
And you're the one who's actively involved and Kyle's more passive.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
He gets 10% and he doesn't have to work.
I need to talk to him about that, don't I? Yes.
How's business going?
Business has been strong. I was before the board last fall and we picked up 3 additional properties in Love's travel centers. Those are doing well. Existing properties are down maybe 10% this year, but with the 3 new properties, we're up as a whole and doing pretty strong, especially considering where gas prices are at, where everything else is at. So
would you explain that comment? I mean, so we had an internal discussion during Rump about cost of gas and how it affects your, I mean, it's a small margin business, I assume.
well, we were, I think gaming in general is discretionary income is used by customers. And so when you're putting more money in your gas tank, less is going in a slot machine generally. We were more concerned about gas prices because we're in truck stops. So if there's less travelers on the road because of gas prices, then there's less business for us. And we've been pleasantly surprised that we've held up pretty well so far this year. So
that's great. That's interesting. So substitution.
Yeah.
But you're saying your existing businesses are slightly off, but your new ones are up.
Right. And 2021 was a record year in the over 25 years that we've been in business. 2021 was our best year we've ever had. So the bar was high. We've come down from it a little bit, but still very happy with our business.
Okay, so you just somewhat normalized, I guess, because you're comparing against a really nice 2021.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you guys have been before us quite a few times here. I've only been here 3 years now, and I've seen, like, I continually read reports because you guys seem to be doing a lot of making a lot of moves.
We do, yeah. So I got on board with Leisure Gaming in 2008, and we had 3 properties, and now we have 9. So
all Northern Nevada.
All Northern Nevada, all under 93 slot machines, but all non-restricted and all outside of Washoe and Clark County. So
Pilot Centers, Roadhouse, Lucky's.
Correct.
Is it a one club? So one patron?
One card. Yeah, we have a Konami system. It's one card, and that's worked really well for us.
Nice. Okay. Very clean application. No problems from a background perspective. So I'm happy to support your application today.
Great. Thanks. Thank you, Member Casaros. Member Watkins.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So the purchase price for each of the transfers is $281,250. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And how will that be paid?
We're going to amortize it over 8 years. I believe the interest rate is 3.5%. And then there will be some annual gifts to the max allowed by my mother and my father.
And there's an initial gift of $32,000, is that correct?
Correct. So that'd be 16 from my mother and 16 from my father as a gift.
Okay, and a loan agreement for $249,250.
Right. Just a promissory note. That's
All right.
correct.
Well, thank you very much. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have a bit of time before we can begin our restricted agenda. So let me ask you, is this like a mini city? So truck drivers can stop, shower, and eat? Is that essentially?
Yeah,
what
Pilot and Love's are very similar. So those are, most of our properties are in Pilot travel centers and Love's travel centers. So they have showers, they have large parking lots for the trucks. Truckers have to be not driving for periods of time. And that's been our business since we opened our first casino in 1994 in a pilot travel center in Fernley. And we picked up the Konami slot system in 2016. At that time, our business was steadily declining since about 2010. And the reason for that, I think, is that truckers, instead of getting to Nevada and it being a place they can gamble, they can gamble in almost every state in the country. And so our business dropped. We knew we had to try to attract locals, and the Konami system allowed us to do that, to build a database, to offer free play, to give rewards to customers, and that really changed things for us. It was a very expensive purchase. Those systems are not inexpensive. It was about $1 million, and it had paid for itself in about 3.5 years. So.
Well, good. I'm glad that you were able to pivot and capture additional market share. It's good.
Real quick follow-up. The one in Wells, your Lucky's there. Is that by the four-way?
It is. So it's there's a Flying J in Wells, and then the Loves in Wells, and they're on the south side of the freeway. The four-way's on the north side of the freeway.
You're on the north side?
We're on the south side.
We're on the south side with
Yeah,
the
we're on
Loves.
the south side. There's a Brand New Hampton Inn, and so the Loves is right next to that, which has helped that property a little bit, I think, also. But we picked that one up. We opened it up in November last year. Each of those 3 properties that we picked up last year were struggling under the previous operator. They were break-even properties, and we put in a whole new slot mix, put in our slot system, remodeled all 3 of them, put some money in them. We figured it would probably take us 1.5 years or 2 years to get out of the hole that the previous operator was in, and we kind of hit the ground running. It really surprised us. All 3 of those properties are doing what our existing pilot properties are doing, and they've only been open for 6 months, so that's been strong.
Are you on the road a lot?
Yes. Yeah, about every 6 weeks or so, I drive from Reno to Ely to Wendover, and Wendover back to Reno in about 2.5 days. It's what is that? It's about 1,000 miles in 2.5 days. So
I was looking at a graphic, and First Word Association, they did that with various states, all the states across the country. And the consensus was that with Nevada, the First Word Association was it was empty. So
that is empty.
On
On my last road trip,
an empty ground.
There was I'd never seen it before. There was a Mormon cricket patch, and on 50, the color of the highway changed from a normal color to Mormon cricket color. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. Yeah, for probably 30 miles.
That's
and they're popping over the freeway, and so it's very rural out there on 50 and 80. They had another hatch in Carlin when I went through there. So only in Nevada, I guess.
Well, you've seen it, right? The whole thing.
That's
well,
right.
Good. With that, there are no additional questions, or are there?
I don't have any additional questions.
Nope, I didn't have anything either.
All right. That, as Sarah mentioned, no issues. So I would ask for a motion.
Chair Gibson, I move to recommend approval of non-restricted item number 2 as read into the record by Secretary Rupert.
Madam Secretary.
Member Katsaros.
Aye.
Member Watkins.
Aye.
Chair Gibson.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
All right. So that is the end of our non-restricted agenda, and we reconvene at 10 o'clock for our restricted. So apologize to you all. That's the open meeting. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. It's a little after 10. And as noticed on the agenda, we can begin our restricted agenda discussion. Madam Secretary, let's proceed with the items on our restricted consent agenda. There were no questions or issues with these items. So please read them in a few.
Restricted number 6 is the application of United Coin Machine Company doing business as Century Gaming Technologies, doing business at 7-Eleven store number 15449 for a restricted gaming license. It is also the application of AZY Mander 5 Inc. for licensure to receive a percentage of gaming revenue as noted on the agenda. Lastly, you have the application of Amandeep Kaur for licensure as a sole officer, director, and shareholder of AZY Mander 5 Inc. Restricted number 7 is the application of Apollo Coin Corporation doing business as Nevada Gaming Corporation doing business at the Lodge at Stephanie for a waiver of Nevada Gaming Commission Regulation 4.080 as noted on the agenda. Restricted number 8 is the application of Apollo Coin Corporation doing business as Nevada Gaming Corporation doing business at the Lodge Lounge for a waiver of Nevada Gaming Commission Regulation 4.080 as noted on the agenda. Restricted number 9 is the application of Rebel Slots Inc. doing business at Backyard for a waiver of Nevada Gaming Commission Regulation 4.080 as noted on the agenda. Restricted number 10 is the application of Shortline Gaming LLC doing business as Shortline Gaming doing business at Sunrise Mediterranean Market and Bakery for a restricted gaming license. Restricted number 11 is the application of United Coin Machine Company doing business as Century Gaming Technologies doing business at Z-Mart 5 for a restricted gaming license. Restricted number 12 is the application of United Coin Machine Company doing business as Century Gaming Technologies doing business at Z-Mart 2 for a restricted gaming license. Restricted number 13 is the application of United Coin Machine Company doing business as Century Gaming Technologies doing business at Z-Mart for a restricted gaming license. Restricted number 14 is the application of United Coin Machine Company doing business as Century Gaming Technologies doing business at Bob's Market for a restricted gaming license. Restricted number 15 is the application of United Coin Machine Company doing business as Century Gaming Technologies doing business at Z-Mart 3 for a restricted gaming license.
Okay. Colleagues, any discussion on these items?
None for me.
None for me.
Okay, with that, I'd ask for a motion.
I'll make that motion. I move to recommend approval of restricted item numbers 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 to the following pursuant to the following conditions. As to items number 7, 8, and 9, the waiver of the provisions of Nevada Gaming Commission Regulation 4.080 in conjunction with the approval granted in January 2022 shall expire on the date of the regularly scheduled Nevada Gaming Commission meeting in January 2023. As to items number 10 and 12, the surveillance system and/or mirrors must be inspected and approved by the Nevada Gaming Control Board Enforcement Division within 60 days of issuance of the state gaming license and thereafter be maintained at or above the standard that is approved.
Okay, thank you very much.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Okay, that brings us to items that were held out, and restricted 1 is on deck. So please read it in if you would.
Restricted number 1 is the application of Zackus LLC for a transfer of interest and the application of Jody Zackus for licensure as a member and manager.
Okay, before we begin this item, I just like to, I have a disclosure. This is a rare event for the board members. We don't have many of these. My wife and daughter have worked for a company that I believe has been owned by Miss Jody Zackus. It's not clear as to, I've heard she sold it, but it's unclear enough for me that I'm uncomfortable voting on the item, just given the fact that there's not a clean cut if I'm on. So I'll abstain. So I won't participate in this conversation or vote. Thank you. I'd ask Mr. Member Casaros.
Certainly.
Over.
Is the applicant in Las Vegas?
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board, And I can't say is that the secretary is there, I'm sure. My name is Serena Choi, and to my right is Mrs. Jody Zakis.
Good morning.
On behalf of the item here. This is for a transfer of interest. The application has been licensed, or excuse me, the location has been licensed, and currently they are transferring interest. Lefter Zakis is transferring 50% to Jody Ann Zakis. It's just a simple transfer. They are brother-in-law, and that is what we're here to appear for on this item. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today. Ms. Zakis, did you have anything?
No, thank you for seeing us this morning, and
No.
I'm excited.
Appreciate you being here. I anticipated you were going to be here in Carson today. Sorry, I guess my notes reflected you were going to be appearing in person here, but no worries. This is happening quite regularly these days.
I apologize if we weren't clear. I did say we would appear. Forgive me if I didn't clarify whether in Carson City or Las Vegas.
Understood. Thank you for that. So again, we're doing a transfer here. It looks like the amount is a 50% transfer from your brother-in-law. So your husband is Michael Zakis, correct?
Correct.
Brother to Lefteris.
Yes.
Okay. So what type of business are we talking about?
This is a tavern with 15 slot machines embedded in the bar, and it does have a restaurant.
And this is in Henderson?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Ms. Zakis, what's your role with the company up to this point?
I take care of the books, the banking. I work hand in hand with my bookkeeper and CPA, going over the dailies, the gaming reports, the numbers.
And this is a full-time role, or do you have other sort of employment with other businesses?
I have other businesses, but I take care of the books for all of them.
Right now, the notes I have in front of me reflect that there's another company called Infusa, and it reflects that I believe you're the owner as well as you handle the bookkeeping there.
Correct. I sold that. We signed papers last Friday.
Okay. And then in terms of other businesses that you have or involved in?
I'm involved in the Sunset Pizzeria across the street from the tavern. I also do the books there.
And Sunset Pizzeria is owned by
By
whom?
Michael Zakis and Lefter Zakis.
Okay, so are there other business ventures between Michael and Lefteris?
No.
Just that pizzeria across the street?
Correct.
And Michael's involvement with this particular location?
No involvement.
Why is that?
He is doing more of the development side of things. His parents have commercial property. They're getting older. They're in their 80s, so he is managing that, as well as building a project going towards Lake Las Vegas.
And what's his involvement with the pizzeria then across the street?
Stops in for lunch. He really does. He's pretty hands off at this point.
Okay, so he's an owner that you describe as passive.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, in reading through the report, I'll just say at the onset, there's nothing concerning from your background. Came back clean.
Mm-hmm.
There is questions that I have in my head, understanding what involvement Michael has had with this location, will have with this location. We've got a nexus here in that you're married to Michael. Michael was previously an applicant here. We had some concerns at that time, numerous years ago, some disclosures that weren't made properly. There were some questions around some DUIs that he had. And at this point, when I was reading the report, I was wondering, what exactly are your intentions here? Why is it at this point you're getting involved with this business? Again, your background came back clean, but the nexus with Michael and the fact that Michael's not here before us left a question in my mind as to whether or not he's going to be involved with this location.
And the answer to that is no. He's not going to be involved in this location. He hasn't been involved in this location. It's been Lefteris and I from the beginning. Lefteris doing day-to-day. Again, me behind the scenes doing the bookkeeping and the books.
And how long's this location been there?
We've been there since 2019, October.
So that's when it was acquired, but Lefteris purchased it
Correct.
solely.
Correct.
And why is he allowing, it seems to me that he's allowing you to purchase in at a 50% interest or ownership interest at a very low amount, just from an
Well, to be
outsider's view.
right, I understand. It takes a lot of the headache off of him doing what I do, the books and the banking and all that goes with that, paying the bills. And I've done it since the beginning, and that was our agreement that I would do behind the scenes and he would be kind of front and center.
Okay, and so then the reason for the, it would seem, reduced price on the ownership interest is a result of your hard work, your dedication, et cetera.
Correct.
Please, go ahead, fill in the
Yes,
blanks for me then.
yes, all of that, my dedication to it, the fact that I work 2 hours every morning for the company, working from home, the fact that he doesn't have to worry about the money aspect of it.
Is Lefteris
we-
here? He was supposed to be appearing here today, correct?
Yes, he
Yes,
is.
would you like to see him?
Yeah, if he could come to the podium as well, since we're throwing around his name.
Poor guy, here he is. State your name, please.
Good morning, Lefteris Zekis.
Good morning. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
So just in your own words, what's going on with this transaction right now?
As she stated, she does the day-to-days and whatnot. I'm more hands-on dealing with the cooks, bartenders, all that stuff. So she takes a lot of stress off my shoulders about worrying about the bills being paid or whatnot. So,
And then other businesses that you have, sir, with Michael?
is the Sunset Pizzeria on Boulder Highway across the street as well.
Nothing else.
And again, nothing else. And again, that's the same thing. I'm in there, greeting customers, making sure everything's operating correctly, making sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing while she does the behind the scenes for me.
So in terms of your full-time employment, it's this location and then the location across the street?
Yeah, so I bounce back and forth in the two.
Okay, that's
And
your
I would like
full-time.
to add,
Yes.
sorry, board member, I'd like to add also that there is another location they're building off of Lake Mead. And that is the new project. And again, that is where this separation came about, where Michael was dealing with the construction. That project has been on the slate for how long now?
3 years.
And that'll be on your agenda next year, but that's where he really had to separate himself because there's a lot of issues with the permitting, with the neighbors, with the electrical. And so he then said, I need to focus on this. And that's where he started to step away. And he then said, I can't do the bars and the restaurants or anything. So that's where Lefteris is more of your front house. Jody is your back house, if you will. And then Michael just handles all of that construction. And again, you'll see that on your agenda for next year, sir.
And he's also taking care of my parents' retail, commercial properties that they have as well. So dealing with those every day.
And the new property you're talking about, Ms. Choi, this property, you said his involvement there at this point is just on the construction side. Once construction is complete, is it anticipated he'll be an owner there as well?
No, he would just be a landlord at that point. But again, he is not going to be involved in the day-to-day operations. Just Jody and Lefteris will be in charge of those items and those decisions.
Okay. So Mr. Zakis, as Ms. Zakis said a minute ago, there's no intention for Michael to be involved in this operation that we're looking at right now. Is that correct?
None whatsoever.
Okay. Member Watkins, I'm going to yield for a moment.
Thank you, Member Katsaros. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
So as my colleague indicated earlier, the background, and I'll just refer to you as Jody, no disrespect, but because you all have similar last names, it's easier to just use first names. But your Black background came back clean. So there aren't necessarily concerns related to you, but the concerns are related, from my perspective, to your husband, Michael, given his withdrawal of the application due to the concerns of the board a number of years ago as it related to arrests and lawsuits. How did you and Lefteris come to, and this question is for Jody, how did you and Lefteris come to the agreement that you would become a 50% owner?
We have owned Sunset Pizzeria across the street together, and I have done the books there. So when this opportunity came up for the Zackus LLC, I took that same role in doing, he asked me if I would do the same role, and I said yes, with the intention of being 50-50 partner.
And so was it your suggestion or was it his that you become a 50% partner?
It was his.
And why did he make that suggestion?
Just to be fair, because I am putting in so much work for the business.
Are you compensated for that work? Do you receive a paycheck?
No.
When did Left Terrace approach you with this proposal?
I would say around the time that we opened, so earlier 2019.
How long was that prior to opening?
When the opportunity came about, I believe it was,
September,
you
no,
know, what, 3-4 months?
July.
before we opened?
Yeah.
It was a
July
few-
2019.
So he approached you regarding this offer in July of 2019 and you then opened when?
October.
October. So what was it particularly that motivated you to become more involved in the business beyond being an employee or beyond working for the company? You say, have you ever been paid or compensated?
No, we haven't.
You've never been paid or compensated?
No. We keep the money rotating in the business for advertising and for expenses and whatnot.
And you've been doing this since 2007?
No, from the pizzeria, she gets paid, not from the tavern.
Are you referring to the tavern that do I get paid or the pizzeria?
Either.
I do get paid from Sunset Pizzeria.
Okay.
Yes, I get a paycheck.
But you don't get paid from the tavern?
Correct.
Okay. About how often do you work at the pizzeria?
I work altogether probably 3 to 4 hours a day from home. I do all my work from home at my home office.
And how often at the tavern?
Same. So altogether 2 hours and 2 hours.
So what I believe you just said was that you work 3 to 4 hours at the pizzeria. So is it 3 to 4 or is it 2?
It's a total of 4 hours a day that I work from home for both businesses.
So is that then divided? So it's 2 hours?
Yes.
For each business? Okay.
Yes.
Do you and Michael have any other businesses together?
No.
Did you together with Left Terrace come to a conclusion or an agreement that he would sell the Sunset Pizzeria downtown, or did he reach that conclusion on his own?
Oh, I sold that on my own.
With regard to, can you take me through your work history?
Yes, I can. I'm an esthetician. I got my license when I was 25. I opened my first salon at the age of 28. I sold that business when I was 32. I met Mike.
What's the name of that business?
Cielo Salon and Spa.
Will you spell that?
CIELO Salon and Spa.
Did you have training to become an esthetician?
I did.
And when did you receive that training?
When I was 25.
Okay. Is that, so, all right, take me through your work history.
So I sold that when I was 32. My husband, Michael, owned the pizzeria next door. So when I sold the salon, I started working at the pizzeria with him. And then from there.
What year was that?
Let's see. 2007 to 2017.
Okay. And then in 2017?
And then in 2017, we had Downtown Detail LLC that was listed. That was a brief business car washing that didn't work out.
And who owned that? Who's the owner of that business?
Michael and myself.
Okay. So you and Mike don't currently own any other businesses together, but you previously owned businesses together. Is that correct?
Just Downtown Detail.
Okay. That's the only other one.
Correct. Correct.
And Infuse was just you.
Infuse was just me. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, just asking to clarify, Infuse, who is the owner of that? She said it was just her.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that.
Yes, member.
Okay. To your knowledge, and I believe you've already said this, but I just want to clarify, was Michael involved in the operations of the Sunset Pizzeria downtown before it was sold?
In pizzeria down. No.
Is Michael currently employed?
He's doing the commercial properties that we were speaking of. He also gets a paycheck from Sunset Pizzeria as a silent partner.
When you say he's doing the commercial stuff, can you be more specific? What do you mean by that?
Yes, his parents own commercial retail on Gibson, and he manages the project, renting the spaces and whatnot.
And does he
And then
get paid?
I'm sorry?
Does he get
No.
paid?
No. No.
Okay. As I said, this is more of this. I just wanted to understand better your work history and the work you've done in partnership with Michael and Left Terrace. But from my perspective, given Michael's past application, the areas of concern, the withdrawal in conjunction with the closeness of the relationship between you and Michael, that being of husband and wife, the history of co-management of businesses, I would feel comfortable moving forward, but placing a condition on the license similar to that was placed on the Sunset Downtown's license. And I can, that condition simply say that, or this proposed condition, I should say, would simply state that Michael Zakis must have no involvement in the business operations of Sunset Tavern until such time as he is found suitable by the Nevada Gaming Commission.
Thank you.
Is that?
Yeah.
They agree, yes.
Yes.
Ms.
They
Choi,
would agree to your
did you?
condition, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Ms. Choi,
They would agree to that condition, yes.
Good, thank you. Just wanted to be clear on that. And spoiler alert, I
Yes,
agree
sir.
with that part. Yeah, my questions are, just the same as Member Watkins in that regard, and that, look, Michael had some questionable, I don't know, decisions a while ago. In 2015, there was some lack of clarity in his disclosures, and it's been some time, frankly, so I'm not rendering judgment on his background right now. He's not here before us, frankly. If he was, who knows? But yeah, I wouldn't feel comfortable without that condition that Member Watkins just suggested. So I'm glad we're all in agreement on that.
Thank you.
Just a technicality on the condition.
I don't think your microphone's on.
It should be.
Is it? Okay.
Rather than the phrase found suitable, might want to use licensed or approved, just a technicality.
I don't know if you could hear that, Member Watkins.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. That's the language that I took from the previous condition. So if you want to adjust that, as long as it doesn't cause any concerns for whoever developed that language initially, then I'm okay moving forward as you suggest.
And Chief Hoffman, it was licensed or approved.
I'd
And
say approved would be a more general term,
Yeah.
whereas we have that distinction between licensure, finding of suitability.
Yeah, I think it's one of these conditions that was imposed upon somebody years ago. And then at a
It
certain
was-
point, we became wise and said, it's probably lacks a bit of clarity
Back-
and
back-
licensed or approved is probably
Right,
better.
back then, found suitable was probably used in the general sense.
Yeah.
This is our technical sense.
I'm sure one of our DAGs pointed out that we should probably be a bit more precise in our language here less precise so that it covers more.
Thank
angles.
you.
I would use approved.
Sounds good. We'll
Okay.
agree to that. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Watkins.
Member Watkins, did you have anything further on this one then?
I don't have anything further.
I didn't either. I think we deliberated enough on this already. I'll just echo again. I'm comfortable moving forward. Ms. Zakis, there was nothing problematic in your background. Questions really went to the heart of what Michael's involvement may or may not be in the future here.
Okay,
right,
thank you.
well, I think with that, we are ready for a motion then.
I'm happy to make a motion. I move to recommend approval of the application and restricted item number 1 pursuant to the condition, as read into the record by Secretary Rupert, pursuant to the condition that Michael Zakis must have no involvement in the business operations of Sunset Tavern until such time as he is licensed or approved by the Nevada Gaming Commission. Is that the correct language?
Yes, I'm getting head nods here.
Okay.
All right. Member Watkins,
Aye.
Member Katsaros,
Aye.
Chair Gibson.
Just let the record reflect that I abstained on this item. Thank you very
All right.
much.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you again. We look forward to seeing you next year.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Right. Let's go to restricted 2.
Restricted number 2 are the applications of 2 AM Productions LLC, Lupo and Me LLC, and FSM Holdings for findings of suitability as members and/or managers of Sasso Concepts Limited. It is also the applications of 2 AM Productions LLC and Lupo and Me LLC for registration as a holding company. Lastly, you have the applications of Tanya McCaffrey and Mark Estee for a finding of suitability as sole member and manager as noted on the agenda.
Good morning.
Good morning. So this is us hearing a limited license just prior to its expiration,
Correct.
correct?
Correct. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Madam Secretary, congratulations. For the record, Adriana Freilich here on behalf of Overland Restaurant and Pub and the licensee applicants that are here today. And we have the CEO, Mark Estee, and the CFO, Tanya McCaffrey. As you may recall, Mr. Chairman, 2 years ago, we came here and the board and the commission approved a limited license with a direction to come before you and give it a status on some liens that were outstanding. And we are happy to report that there's been a lot of movement considering all of the government shutdowns and everything else that we've experienced with the pandemic. But we are here to report, like I said, a lot of payments, reductions, abatements, and some appeals. And so with that, I'm sure you have a few questions and we're here to answer those questions for you.
Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Fred. Ms. McCaffrey, so you are an aggressive accountant
Good morning.
and you've won in a few cases.
Yes, yes.
Well, congratulations on that. So I'd ask you, as the accountant, what, I don't want to go through the prior liens and abatement issues. What remains for you and Mr. Ipsis?
Yes, thank you,
Steve.
Chair Gibson. Good morning. Yes, as Ms. Freilich reflected, I'm very happy at the progress we've made in 2 short years. The only items remaining are one lien that was assessed on me personally. It is the same balance as the restaurant's balance, kind of like when you co-sign on a mortgage, 2 signers can be liable for the same debt. So it is related to that business lien. A portion of that was abated, and the remaining balance, we've been advised by a separate tax firm to continue to work with the IRS to work on the final balance of $159,000. And then the only other item outstanding is related to Reno Provisions. That was an entity that held a restaurant that was actually closed in 2016. The balance on that is $106,000. And they've recommended that we wait to move forward on addressing that particular lien with the IRS until we resolve mine. So we're actively working to resolve the 159 on me, and then after that we'll move forward with the Reno Provisions balance.
Okay. Is the lien that remains on you, was it I guess originally based on the same premise that you prepared taxes? Was your recommendation, your advice?
Yes.
And so you're liable in a sort of co-equal way.
Yes, they deemed that I was a responsible party. At the time, I was not an owner in any of the entities. I was hired in 2016 by Mr. Esty to come in and help. My firm specializes in restaurants and specifically restaurant turnarounds. And so we had a lot of cleanup and pay downs and just turnaround to do with after the closure of Reno Provisions. So at the time I came in as an outside CPA and accountant to help clean everything up. And even though I was not an owner at the time, I was not making the decisions on payments, but they did deem that I was a responsible party and assessed it on me personally.
And so the IRS lien against Mr. Esty for Reno Provisions, that wasn't one that was also assessed against you.
It's part of the balance on me. Yes. So it was Reno Local Food Group and Reno Provisions
Got it.
combined.
Okay.
Sorry, could I get clarity on that one? So the 159 is actually composed of Reno Local Food Group as well as Reno Provisions?
Correct.
Okay. And so the 106 is just Reno Provisions.
Correct.
So it's only a portion of the 159, we think, or are we certain?
I am certain. So the way the payroll, anything associated, these were payroll taxes. So anything associated with payroll taxes, they assess the same balance on any business, human involved in the process. So they took the Reno Local Food Group and Reno Provision balances, and they assessed both of those on Mark and I personally.
And Reno Local Food Group, was that wholly owned by Mr. Estes?
Yes.
Okay. You happen just to be the accountant.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That's why you're the responsible party.
Mhm.
So had he had another business, then would that have been liened as well? Is that what you're saying?
If it had an outstanding tax balance, yes.
So some of those payroll taxes actually stemmed from Reno Local Food Group.
Yes, Reno
And-
Local Food Group and Reno
and Reno
Provisions.
Provisions.
Correct.
All payroll taxes related.
Correct.
And you mentioned just a second ago too, I wanted to get to that later, but you said I wasn't the one making decision on whether or not to pay the tax or not. I imagine that was Mr. Estes.
Yes, I would make
And-
recommendations.
Was it all based upon cash flow right now? What our cash position is, and we don't have enough to pay the tax man and
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. In terms of size, let's go back to the original application. The original and the original holding. So let's see. So in 2020, there's approval of Sasso Concepts as sole member manager of Overland. And then findings of suitability, FSM, and then Thomas at as member manager of Sasso. Is there, let's see, during that, was 2 a.m. also one approved at that point?
Yes.
Okay, so nothing's new as far as standings. So we've got a few outstanding liens that are being contested
Correct.
on the part of Mr. Esty.
Only me and Reno Provisions. We have completely resolved any balances that were assessed on Mr. Esty
Okay, that's right.
personally,
You did pay everything.
as well as, so Reno Local Food Group and Mr. Esty's balances have been completely resolved
Got it.
since paid and also negotiated with the IRS since the last appearance.
okay, but the remaining balance. So what does a negotiation look like for money that you owe?
Sure.
How does that work?
Sure. So the first step is determining whether or not I meet the criteria per Internal Revenue Code as a responsible person. The stance that the firm we're working with has taken is that I do not. So we just recently received a formal abatement of approximately 80,000, 75 to 80,000 of the original lien assessed against me.
What's the abatement mean?
Abatement means that they did agree that I was not a responsible party for a portion of that, for the Reno provisions portion of that debt. They are still looking at the Reno Local Food Group portion of that balance. And abatement means that they agree with our argument that I'm not a responsible person or responsible party. I am a responsible person, sorry, that I'm not a responsible party with the lien. And Reno Local Food Group is just going more slowly.
But them determining whether or not you're a responsible party or not, why does that reduce the balance? Because the balance would seem to still be
Sure.
what the balance is.
Great question. Because it's the same balance assessed on both the business and myself personally, they're addressed very differently. So if they determine that I am not liable for that amount, the business portion remains. So they took the same balance was assessed really on 4 different entities, being Mark personally, myself personally, Reno Local Food Group, Reno Provisions. So we have paid and negotiated the balance for Reno Local Food Group under what's called an offer in compromise. We are waiting on Reno Provisions until mine is resolved. And then we'll address Reno Provisions immediately after that. And we've reserved the funds to pay any remaining balances.
Okay, so what you're saying is because they swept you in all this, that inflated the actual amount that was owed?
No, if you pay one, it reduces all of the balances. So back to the example of a mortgage, if you and I co-sign on a mortgage together, someone makes a payment, it reduces the mortgage. But we both would have credit reports that show the mortgage, right?
But what I'm getting at is we've got an abatement here of $70,000.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't pay that amount.
Correct. That only reduces mine.
That's
and
just
then
your obligation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But okay, it was in my notes, it was actually adding the amount to the balance owed. And the abatement then reduced it. Okay. In my notes that I'm looking at here.
Sure,
Which
sure.
confuses me a bit. Okay, got it.
I know it's
Understood.
complex, and the IRS is moving notoriously slowly right now, more so than I've ever seen. And so it complicates it more by the amount of time that's passing between each decision we get from them.
And right now, so the other liens that were assessed, those are the only ones outstanding, the 106 and 159.
Correct.
The 106 and 159, the other ones you had paid. Okay.
Correct.
You met your obligations. You kept up with your payments. You weren't delinquent. Excellent. These two, you have no payment plan right now, and you're not paying right now, but you're not delinquent either.
Correct.
Okay, because you're negotiating.
Correct.
Okay. Let's say you're successful in removing yourself as a responsible party. That balance isn't going to change, right? That's a separate item. Okay. Are you negotiating on the amount that you owe to? Is there a question as to whether or not they've incorrectly calculated that amount?
Yes. So the first step is to determine whether or not the balance remains on my lien. If they determine that that 159 stays, then there are a little over $50,000 in payments that that our tax firm is working to have applied to that balance. So once we get the answer on the abatement, then if they abate it, then it doesn't matter, right? So once they make the decision on the abatement, if they deny it, then we'll work with them to reapply the payments properly, which will actually bring that balance down to 103,000.
But the 50,000 that you're saying the accountants are working on, has that already been paid?
That's been paid.
It just hasn't been accounted for properly?
Absolutely.
Or
They
fully yet?
applied it to Mark's balance, but not mine. So we just need to get that allocated properly, and then it will be 103,000 if it's not abated.
Okay. I think I'm understanding.
Sorry.
And all this stems from basically getting behind on bills and not running the business properly in the end. Seems like the businesses that I've seen are extremely successful from an outsider's view, in that you have a lot of patrons going there to eat at your restaurants.
Thank you. I can let Mark address that as well. and kind of how
Sure.
Reno Provisions came to be.
Thank you, Board Chair Gibson and esteemed members. Yes, I would say a lot of this mess stems back from our Reno Provisions days. That was a short-lived business that we got a little bit of trouble with from an E. coli breakout, moving through, not really having it organized as well as it should have been, maybe getting a little bit too far over the skis. And we're kind of cleaning up that mess, and that's where Mrs. McCaffrey's been really amazing in helping us, and trying to figure this out has been really difficult. But we've made a lot of great progress on it, and all our businesses now are really strong and healthy, and our books look good, and our cash flow is great, I would say. And we're just really waiting to see. We do have that money set aside, and we're listening to our firm as we go through to see how we're going to pay that.
Okay, so wanted to get that to our agent had reflected in the investigation that it seems you have sufficient cash to pay the obligation off in the event the IRS comes back and says, no, you still owe this. Is that what you're expecting?
That
Or
we're hoping for the best and planning for the worst. We are hoping that they will agree with the abatement request, and then assuming the abatement request is approved, then we will pay the Reno Provisions balance in full. And we have that money. We have money reserved for both, for the total balance too.
and those funds are coming from the business or personal?
Operations, the business.
Operations, okay.
Let me ask you this, Ms. McCaffrey. So your firm, your accounting firm has expertise in turning around or avoiding bankruptcy, helping restaurants. How do you do?
Thank you. We work with restaurants to first ensure that they are in fact sustainable. And that involves building in key industry metrics to ensure that their prime costs, which are their food costs and their labor, are in line with a business of their service type. So the percentages for cost of goods and labor can vary depending on whether you're counter service, full service. We'll look at renegotiating leases, looking at vendor contracts, master distribution agreements, and things to ensure that their business is viable. Once we are able to determine that, which is exactly the process we went through with Mr. Esty, then we'll work with them to negotiate outstanding debt. 9 times out of 10, that restaurant is past due on rent. So we'll work with the landlords to negotiate a payment plan, often in the form of a note to get them to catch up on their rent. We'll also work with outside vendors, US Foods, Alsco. The larger vendors are getting used to working with us, so that we can help with a payment plan that'll allow the restaurant to get on top of their cash flow. You know, it's a slow process sometimes because the margins in restaurants are slim. And so we'll negotiate with the vendors, ensure that the restaurant is doing what they said that they were going to do. And then we manage cash flow on a weekly basis, working with the restaurant owners, showing them, here's what you owe, here's what you have. Are we approved to move forward with this plan? So.
Okay. Thank you for that. I just want to put on the record that your use of the term abatement is, I mean, it is not in line with the way I understand abatements. I mean, you're the accountant, I'm not. But abatement, in my mind, I guess it would be the application of some rule that would change the amount of tax owed, as opposed. I mean, so what you're saying is that you never owed.
Correct.
Right?
So the term abatement is.
So why is it not a mistake part of the IRS?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Why is it not a why is it not? Why is IRS not admit mistake?
Sure. So the IRS's interpretation is that I was a responsible party. The mechanism with the IRS for assessing a balance on an individual when it relates to payroll taxes is called a trust fund recovery penalty. Because it's a penalty, the term abatement is most commonly associated with the abatement of a penalty. It comes through as an actual penalty assessment. So if you looked at if the information we actually provided to Investigator McElhenney is that it shows it as an actual trust fund recovery penalty that was assessed, and then that can be abated because that's how.
And it's reduced as a result of your strong negotiating or whatever.
Payments and abatements. So.
Right. That's okay. All right. Right. This is Member Watkins. Jump in here, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I don't necessarily need to rehash the issues that concern the board during the last meeting. I believe it was in 2020, the last time you all were before the board. But I'll just acknowledge that there were numerous issues as it relates to the state and federal tax liens, the disciplinary proceedings, and now there is additionally an OSHA complaint. But I do want to clarify a couple of things. So when you were before the board, Ms. McCaffrey, in 2020, I believe there was an exchange that you were having an exchange with one of the board members. I believe it was Member Johnson. And you indicated that you were unable to make payroll taxes. And my conclusion from what you stated, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, was that that was because you were paying down your debt. So you made a choice between paying your debt and making payroll tax payments. Is that correct?
I don't recall exactly saying that we chose debt over payroll taxes. At the time, it was a full turnaround of the entity, and so it was a matter of paying payroll and then paying vendors to be able to get the operation to a point where it could pay all of it, that it could pay payroll taxes, it could pay debt. But at the time, we weren't making payments on additional debt. So I don't recall making the comment that we were choosing one over the other. I apologize.
Okay, so as you stand here before me today, what is your response?
So at the time, we worked through all of the various items that were outstanding and determined what we could pay to turn the entity into a viable entity. And we were making payments on the payroll taxes at the time, but they just weren't 100% of them. So as the entity moved forward, I would make recommendations to Mr. Esty on what we could pay from each week's revenue, and then we would pay toward each of the various balances to keep the doors open. And fortunately, it ended up growing into the group it is now, and everything's current, and we've come out of that.
Okay, so you made recommendations based on what you could afford to pay, and you prioritize certain things over others. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, understandable. But my concern is, we have a responsibility as regulators to collect taxes, obviously, and so my concern is where we fall in that list of prioritization, right? But given that I understand that you all have grown and that you have regrouped and gotten your debt paid off and are on the up, and I congratulate you for that, and that is great to hear. There's also, let me ask you this first. Do you have any other matters before the State Board of Accountancy since 2020?
No, I do not.
Okay. On April 2nd, 2021, an employee at Liberty Food and Wine Exchange, a restaurant owned by Reno Local Food Group, filed a whistleblower complaint with OSHA. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Member Watkins, I just wanted to we're trying to walk a fine line. We want to answer all your questions to make sure that they're found suitable, but also at the same time, we want to just be very conscientious and very cautious that whatever we say in a public meeting becomes evidence that could be used against us. But she will answer your questions, and we'll try to tread very lightly on this topic. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, I understand that completely. I understand that the complaint is still pending, but under our regulations, we're still required to probe suitability, and that is our right and within our discretion to do. I respect the process that you're currently going through. So I am definitely sensitive to that. But we also have our obligations to ensure that our licensees are complying with all federal and state laws and regulations. So while I don't necessarily think that that has to be done on the public record, I would like you to confirm the status of the complaint. And in the future, if you can keep board staff updated with regard to any developments in the complaint, then I would greatly appreciate that as well. So what is the current status of the complaint?
Yes, we will definitely keep the board updated on any new status that we receive. The current status is that Mr. Esty and I have both been interviewed by the whistleblower investigation after we submitted our response, and it is open. They've let us know that they will respond, but we have not heard anything from them since we were interviewed.
Okay, thank you, and I greatly appreciate that. And I greatly appreciate your willingness to comply in the future and to produce any updates to the board staff with regard to that matter.
Absolutely. Thank you, Member Watkins.
And I will say that given the remaining outstanding balances and the unsettled Reno provisions lien, I would feel comfortable moving forward, but I would feel comfortable moving forward with a limitation of 2 years as was applied previously until those issues are resolved as it relates to the OSHA complaint and as it relates to Reno provisions.
Yeah, I'm in the same spot. You've made a lot of progress. There's no question about it. And you're obviously a good accountant, and you're a good chef, according to Member Katsaros on the 2020 or in the 2020 record. But I want to see first. When I look at my table here of federal taxes owed, paid, and so on, I'm seeing IRS approved abatement, previous payments corrected. I want to make sure we have terminology straight.
Sure.
And then beyond that, I also want to see how you interact with our staff. If it's a very aggressive, if it's an attempt to non-pay or not pay limited or less than you owe, I would just note for the record that the remedy in that case, in this space with a privileged license, is revocation of license or dissolution of license, right? So as you prioritize, please make sure you prioritize according to risk.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I just want to pivot over to the operational side of things, but one question to round everything up. Currently, right now, with your payroll taxes, are you delinquent in any manner in any of the businesses?
We are absolutely current.
Okay, thank you for
All
confirming that.
businesses.
And then just a quick update on the businesses. We're talking about Overland right now because this is only one slots, correct? You don't have any other locations with slots?
Correct. We will be applying, but not yet.
And then what are the other locations that you have?
Oh, actually, to clarify, I apologize. We do have a space lease at our Great Basin Sparks location.
Okay.
So that was one of the updates that we actually have on the operation. I'll let Mark.
And just for the record, if you could, you're going to, so you're not an employee of his ventures. You have a accounting firm.
Correct. I am sorry.
Remain his account, managing books, payments, everything.
Yes, I am an owner in Sasso Concepts. I actually am the 100% owner of 2AM Productions, which is one of the members of Sasso Concepts.
An interest in maintaining. And Mr. SEC, is she going to main your booking?
1000%.
That's important.
So, sorry, member
Go ahead.
Katsaros.
Good job.
Tell me, you asked me a question about updating all our restaurants?
Yeah, operation.
Want a quick one because
global
footprint. Global footprint would be, we have Great Basin Reno, Great Basin in Sparks. We just recently turned the union in Carson City into a Great Basin union. Great Basin in Carson City, and we purchased a Great Basin in 2000 last September. Yeah, last September. So those are our new. That's a new thing. We also have a place called Taps and Tanks, which is our production facility for Nevada's oldest, most award-winning brewing company. Besides that, we have Pizzeria Lupo, which is in Reno. We have Liberty Food and Wine Exchange in Reno. we have Cucina Lupo in Carson City, and then the Overland. So we're staying busy right now. Annual sales are strong. We're making a good comeback from the last 2 years. We have a really solid team. What Tanya with Ms. McCaffrey and her company has done from an accounting standpoint, and her as a partner, we've really put together what we feel is a strong restaurant portfolio and group that can continue to grow, make sure we make all our commitments, and continue to be great employers, and we do our part in the community to make things right.
I didn't realize your empire was growing in that manner again. But so in terms of slots in Overland, you got Space Lease over at Great Basin and Sparks with an SRO. Who's your slot route operator there?
Winners.
Winners. And then the other locations, no slots. Okay. Wanted to confirm that you don't have any outstanding obligations on payroll taxes or anything else that you're delinquent on, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm happy to support your application here today, but I wanted to get an understanding of what we're dealing with on delinquencies, if there are any, which you've confirmed they're not. Report doesn't suggest otherwise. We've got some obligations there on payroll taxes that you're working with the federal government. Again, you're not delinquent there. So I appreciate the exchange here today.
Thank you for your time.
Ms. Freilich, besides your first appearance, you were formerly in this spot here, right?
I was, and it's a very, very tough job. But she's doing a wonderful job, so congrats.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. That was very helpful for me. I would ask for a motion.
I will make that motion. I move to recommend approval of restricted agenda item number 2 as read into the record by Secretary Rupert, but that the approvals pertaining to 2 AM Productions, Tanya McCaffrey, Lupo and Me LLC, and Mark Kevin Estee shall be limited to expire at midnight of the July 2024 Nevada Gaming Commission meeting on the day the item is heard, thereby adding a 2-year limitation.
Okay, Madam Secretary.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Move on to number 3, please.
Restricted number 3 is the application of VK Enterprises LLC doing business as Maddie's Tap House and Grill for a restricted gaming license, and the application of Patricia Van Kirk for licensure as a sole member and manager.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. Morning, Chair and members.
Please state your names for the record, if you would.
My name is Patricia Van Kirk.
My name is Eric Van Kirk.
Okay. So tell us what we're looking at here. What are your applications? What are your hopes?
We are in the process of purchasing Maddie's Tap House and Grill in Elko, Nevada. It is a full-service restaurant, bar, and grill, and I've been working there for the past year, as well as teaching. I just retired from teaching, and as of August 1st, we will be owners of that. And my son Eric and his girlfriend and my daughter have moved from Reno to Elko to be part of our team and run this as a family restaurant.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I noted in your background that you were a teacher. You have been a teacher up until now, and you're pivoting into the Wild West of tavern ownership.
I am.
So
After
I thought that
18
was
years.
I thought that was wonderful.
Thank you.
Just for the so you're entering into an existing revenue share agreement with an SRO.
Correct. Sartini Gaming
Right.
is our SRO correctly right now, and we have a agreement with them until July of 2025.
So in participating, is the SRO going to do everything related to slots, or are you going to be doing some part of it? Or
They do what I would consider everything except for the daily count of the drawers.
Okay.
We do. My son will mostly be in charge of that because he's going to manage the bar side of things. But we do the count in and count out every single day. But Sartini will manage everything else. They fill the machines, they come and they do all of that, and they do all of our reporting and calculating from there.
And am I correct that you attended the restricted gaming class that UNLV offers?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And sir, do you believe that you're qualified to manage the account?
This is very new to me in a lot of ways. I do think that it's not a difficult process as I've been around for just a short while. It's gonna be a work in progress, to be honest with you, but I think we have a good management of teams that work behind the bar that have access to that gaming. And they've kind of helped me out through the first, 2-3 months that we've been back in Elko. So that's been a big help. It's going to be the gentleman out there that works for Sartini has been a huge help as well. His name's Jace. Couldn't remember his last name, but he's been a big help as well. If we ever need anything, he's a call away. And that's been a huge, if we do, I mean, we haven't had any hiccups so far, but
Okay, and when you say it's going to be a work in progress, I understand the term. I don't think you meant it this way. Rely heavily on your SRO if you need to.
Yes.
So don't let it be a set of mistakes, a series of mistakes in progress. So, okay, questions, colleagues?
Just a couple. Thank you for being here today. So you're retiring from teaching?
Yes, I am. I did.
Congratulations.
Yes. Thank
My
you.
wife is a teacher as well. I don't think she wants to go into the bar business after she retires. She's got a little ways though. You were in the Elko School District for
18 years.
18, and then you worked previously elsewhere?
No, I substitute taught before that.
You substitute
yeah.
taught for that.
So that's really all.
Again, first time in the bar restaurant business.
About a year ago, I started there and teaching at the same time. I was hired on as a manager there, and I was working 1 day a week, sometimes 2 days a week, as well as teaching full time too.
When did you have the epiphany that you wanted to maybe take it over?
Teaching has, as of late, been very difficult, and I'm not 100% happy when I'm there anymore. And I've always told myself when I felt that I needed to find something new. And being there at the restaurant and in the bar, I don't know, I walked out of there feeling very happy and different and changed, and just kind of happened. We've known the owner for several years. My husband has had a great relationship with him for over 10 years, and it just kind of, he needed help. He said, we need somebody in here that we can trust to do some things. And I just started, and I just love it. I love being there, and I love how I feel when I'm there, and I love the employees. We have a ton of employees that are family members there. I think we have 16 people that are related to someone else on the staff, and it's a very family friendly, and to bring my own family on is just the icing on the cake.
That's great to hear. You seem passionate about this for sure.
Thank you.
So you plan to be there full time then, running the business, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
Any big changes that you're planning on there?
No real big changes, especially not in the beginning. The only, big changes will be bringing my own family in those positions. So there'll be 4 of us in our family that are there. So that's the only real big change. There'll be some small minor things that, that we want to change personally, but
It's a good sized location from what I recall. I've eaten in there years ago.
very nice. Yes, it's a very big location.
Okay. Does it get full? Is it
Yes.
still out? Okay.
Yes.
oh yeah.
So, then your son, how did you decide that you wanted to get involved in the business?
I started working in the bar industry just about like 18 months ago. I was working up at the Washoe Golf Course up in Reno. I was bartending there, and I just really came to like it, enjoy it, just bartending. And I managed before at a gym, and so I have a little bit of management experience. And so I kind of, as soon as we heard from my father and mother that they wanted to kind of take this over, I kind of took it upon myself. That's when I went out and started working there, just to get myself my foot in the door, get more comfortable with people and just the day-to-day type things, because that's what I'm comfortable at. And then just kind of taking it from there. There's things that I think that she wanted my help on, and so it's kind of like a mutual. If you're not coming, but I don't know if we'll do this. So for us and my girlfriend and then my sister to come help as well. I'll primarily, be in the bar and then helping her on the back end stuff with, anything from ordering to keeping things cleansely and adding new fun things that I think that younger people my age might, enjoy. Kind of keep it cash flow coming.
Is that code for beer pong or something like that?
I don't know if I'll go that far, but something of that taste. We'll keep it fun and light and just add some more things that I think.
And you grew up in Elko then? So you're
Yep.
moving back home then with your girlfriend?
Correct.
Okay. And you have 14 slots there, correct?
Correct.
Is there a reason there's not 15? Is it just doesn't have space at the?
They've just always, since I've been there is space for one more at the end. There's a spot, but we've always had 14. So
Good slot play there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't have any conditions on this. Normally, somebody who's coming new into the industry, we would normally suggest, there would be a suggestion that there'd be a condition on there for a slot route operator. At this point, it wasn't suggested, and neither here nor there for me, given the fact that you have a contract already in place with, did you say with Sartini?
Correct.
Okay. And it looks like it runs till 2025. So, I mean, I guess I'd see limited downside risk. You've completed the course already. Sounds like you've got a really good handle on the business already, being involved for the last year or so. So I'm comfortable moving forward as is. Those are just my thoughts.
Member Watkins.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Congratulations on retiring from being a teacher and your business endeavors. This is amazing and welcome. There weren't any areas of concern related to the application. I'm happy to support the application and I don't have any questions for you.
Well, I mean, this is a very clean background. As Eric Saros noted, that there's one piece that's a little bit unusual. It's not overly problematic. I just know that in addition to count, you're also fully responsible, according to contract, to supervise gaming devices at all times. And so you just wouldn't want people who are less than honest to get a sense that you have new operational owners or new owners and take advantage of it. So make sure you understand what it requires to supervise.
Understood.
Thank you. With that, I'd ask for a motion.
I will make that motion. I move to recommend approval of restricted item number 3 as read into the record by Secretary Ruth.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you
guys
so
very
much.
much.
Congrats.
Let's go to our next item.
Restricted number 4 is the application of SGB Judge Inc. for licensure to receive a percentage of gaming revenue from United Coin Machine Company, doing business as Century Gaming Technologies, doing business at 7-Eleven store number 13700. It is also the application of Amrit Paul Singh for licensure as a sole officer, director, and shareholder of SGB Judge Inc.
Okay, welcome.
Good morning,
Donato.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Madam Secretary, Jeff Donato here with the applicant, Mr. Singh. And with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to give a little information about the application. And then since this is the first time for the applicant being Nevada Gaming, to give some information about himself.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you. So this application is currently for the applicant to share in the gaming revenue. He took over the operations of the store, the 7-Eleven store, back in September of 2021 and is currently on a space lease. There are 4 gaming machines at the location, and if his application is approved today, if his application is approved, then he would convert to a participation agreement and start sharing in the gaming revenue. That's essentially the information for the application, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Singh to give some information about himself.
Yes, Mr. Singh, welcome. Please state your name for the record.
Good morning. Hey,
Please state your
my
name
name
for
is
the record.
my name is Amritpal Singh.
So tell us about
I'm
yourself and what you hope to achieve here.
yes. I'm born and raised in India. I did my high school in India also, and after high school, I was helping my parents in farming, agriculture, and then we got opportunity to move to United States in 2015. And when we came here, my cousins, my family, they all own the 7-Eleven business. So from there first, I started working with them, and then working at 7-Eleven, and I got 6 months later, I got approved to like manager. I managed that store for 6 years, and then last year I got approved for my store in 2021. Now I'm working at my location 60 to 70 hours a week.
Okay. So tell me about that transition. So I've got, so June of 2015, you went from being a farmer essentially in India to a 7-Eleven store owner. That's quite an accomplishment. So congratulations first, but tell me what it's been like.
Thank you. So I got help from my family. We all my family moved to here, so it's got family help and everything. My dad gave me a gift for deposits and stuff.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I'll open it up for questions to colleagues.
Very clean background, Mr. Singh. Thank you for being here today. I'm glad Chair Gibson asked that about going from farming to 7-Eleven. Well done. That's quite a success story, frankly, having your own business now, only being here a handful of years, frankly. So congrats to you. I didn't have any questions on your background. You're just moving from a space lease to a rev share. Makes sense. I assume you're doing that because you feel you can monetize the business better in that manner, correct?
Yes, sir.
Get yourself some good counsel like Mr. Donato, come before us, and maybe you can make some more money. Sounds like a smart move. So I didn't have any questions. Thank you.
You're learning the American way. All right, Member Watkins, do you have any questions?
Good morning, Mr. Donato and Mr. Singh.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Congratulations to you, Mr. Singh, on all your success. That's a great story. I'm happy to hear it. So I assume you're familiar with our regulations since it sounds like you've been around the business, if not necessarily an owner for a while now, or a licensee, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I am happy to support the application. There's no questions or concerns in my mind. There were no issues with the background investigation.
Okay. Thank you very much. And so with that, without any problems, back as for I'd ask for a motion.
All right, I will make that motion. I move to recommend approval of restricted item number 4 as read into the record by Secretary Rubin.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Aye. Thank you. Thank you for appearing.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Agent McElhaney for all her work during the investigation process.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. Good luck to you. All right, let's go on to our next item.
Restricted number 5 is the application of Thomas Gas LLC for licensure to receive a percentage of revenue from United Coin Machine Company, doing business as Century Gaming Technologies, doing business at Thomas Market, and the applications of Daniel Korsheed, Alan Korsheed, and Sarah Korsheed for licensure as member and manager as noted on the agenda.
Okay, wonderful.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having us.
Of course. So please state your names for the record, if you would, just one by one.
Alan Korsheed, and this is my dad, Daniel Korsheed and Sarah Korsheed.
Okay, well, wonderful. All right, so tell us what the application is here in front of us. This is your first time through. Is that correct?
Yes, right now we have a gas station here in Las Vegas. We have a space lease and we want to do a percentage with the company.
Right. Okay. So United Coin is going to be it's the owner of the slots. That accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So what plans do you have for the location? You're going to expand, or you keep it as is, just add slots, or just maintain the slots and participate?
Just maintain the slots, basically. Everything's pretty set and done. We're working there probably 60 to 70 hours a week, and we're there all the time making sure everything is good over there. So just get the license and pretty much in.
Okay. Wonderful. Do you have any other locations?
No, this is the only one.
All right. Well, I don't see problems with the background. Clean. I would ask colleagues to ask questions if they have.
How many machines are we talking about?
I believe there's 7 right now.
Okay. Again, you're just moving from a space lease to a rev share, just like we saw in the last applicant. Makes sense. Backgrounds came back clean. First time being licensed here, so this is part of the process coming here before us, so you can meet us, we can meet you as well. You've gone through the arduous sort of investigation, so this is somewhat of the culmination here. Assuming you're successful, which I don't see why you wouldn't be, given your clean background, you'll still have to go before the commission. I didn't have any questions other than the marketplace itself, which you just answered. So it is a traditional gas store, gas
Yeah,
station
gas
market.
station. Yes.
Okay. My materials reflected a market, and I then just had a question on that. So with that, I didn't have anything further.
Okay.
Thank you.
Member Watkins.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here today. I didn't have any questions or concerns, given that your background came back clean and there weren't any questions or concerns during the investigatory process. So thank you. I'm happy to
Thank you,
support the
guys.
application.
Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So, Mr. Daniel Pershik, is it accurate that you served in U.S. Army?
Good
Was it
morning. Yes.
Okay. In Alpharetta, Georgia, and then L3 Communications, was that their sub?
Yeah, I was subcontractor with the Army with the communication, and yeah, we changed the company, but we did have a subcontractor with the Army. I served them for almost 7 years.
Wow, that's wonderful. And given your background as someone who's graduated from Iraq, your wife, that's quite. Thank you for your service. It's a wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Nope. There are none. I'd like that for someone to make a motion.
I'll make that motion. I move to recommend approval of restricted item number 5 is read into the record by Secretary Rupert.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Aye. Thank you very much. And thank you
very
for
much.
appearing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that's 5. And all right. We'll read the next item into the record, please. Okay.
You have one request for final approval of a new gaming device. That item is Apollo, submitted by Ainsworth Game Technology Limited.
And they're here. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Gibson, Member Saros, Member Watkins, and Madam Secretary. My name is Larry Wheeler. I'm Vice President, General Counsel, and Group Compliance Officer for Ainsworth Game Technology. And with me today is our Chief Operating Officer, Ryan Comstock, along with David Waters, our VP of Global Technologies. We come to you today to seek your recommendation for approval of Ainsworth's new gaming device, the Apollo platform. Ainsworth recently completed the field trial reporting period with the technology division, and we are here to assist the board with any questions you may have regarding the product in that field trial.
Okay, thank you for that. If you would, take us through the incidents during field trial and how you prep.
We'll let Mr. Waters handle those, all the tough questions there.
That's why they brought the geek. So thank you again for having us here today. We started the field trial and we ran into, it was the same issue occurred several times. And initially, we weren't sure what was causing the problem. But in essence, a patron would put a $20 bill in and not get credit. And the logging that we had in that software wasn't sufficient for us to be able to determine exactly what had happened. And it got reported several days, I think it was almost 10 days after the event. So we didn't have any good information. So the first step was to add additional logging into the software so that if the incident reoccurred, we have more information about it and be able to fix it. And that is what happened. We made some modifications, added some more logging, and the incident did reoccur again. And it wasn't something that we were able to replicate, just through normal testing. But the logging helped us find what the problem was. And what happened was that if a ticket was inserted and the voucher system was delayed in responding to authorize the ticket, during that period of time of waiting, the gaming software was pinging the bill acceptor, asking it repeatedly, telling it hold on, I haven't got a response yet. And what's your status? That was an error in coding. And because the bill acceptor can only handle one request at a time, and we were sending them 2 at a time. So what happened then is the message queue got backed up. So it would go through and eventually it would say, okay, stack. So, but by that time, the bill acceptor had already timed out and rejected the ticket. So the patron got their ticket back and left. The next person walks up, the bill acceptor is still getting all these queued messages. They put a $20 bill in, and then it processes the ticket stack message that came, and it stacked and didn't give them the credit for it. So that's what in essence was happening. So to remedy that, number one, we changed the software to only send one message at a time. We added in additional protections to ensure that it wouldn't happen again, and increase the wait time that we would allow for the ticketing vouchering system to respond back. So that in essence is what happened. And once we corrected that and put it in place, it continued to run with no more incidences.
Thank you for that. Our lab, they note that your gaming device function trouble-free Matt. I assume it's after you fixed the problem.
That's correct.
One thing there was a recent series bought a money scan. They were shoving money in. And so when I hear this kind of signature, it takes my
Right. We didn't see any evidence of foul play. You're looking at all the evidence of the log data and everything else. It was very clear that it would be they put a ticket in, didn't work, and then maybe they put that back in their pocket and then they would try a $20 bill because the ticket didn't work. It didn't seem, and it was like it would be one case of it. It wasn't like repeated trying it. So we didn't see anything in there that made us concerned that there was something nefarious.
Isn't there a kernel of code though that would manage this that you could use across your platforms?
This particular software came about because of the MTD asset acquisition. So it was a separate branch of code. So it only happened with JCM bill acceptors, didn't happen with MEI. The drivers are slightly different on that. We were able to, when we looked at that piece of code, we found that it could be improved using our experience in our global footprint. We were able to tighten it up and make it a lot better. So
thank you. Rogasaros had a question, please.
Yeah, I was just gonna, because you kind of spoke to it just a second ago, right there, because I didn't know if you isolated it with a particular BV manufacturer or not.
Yes, sir.
You said it says JCM.
Yes, sir.
But you still noted an anomaly there because you acquired these assets third party. This isn't your platform you're using, correct?
It was not native to us originally,
correct.
right?
Okay.
So
it is.
It
now.
is now.
It is
yes.
now. Okay. How many other platforms have you and cabinets have you actually have approved in Nevada?
What do we have?
I mean, numerous.
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 For
So
many
the big anomaly here is that you've acquired the assets, then they're non-native. Thank you for the word.
That's correct.
Okay. Makes
Yes,
sense.
and we have operated this platform in other jurisdictions without encountering this error. So I think it's an example of probably the field trial and successfulness of it. Having multiple locations, we get different combinations of backend systems, bill validators, ticket printers. This only happened at one of the locations for the field trial, and so the field trial worked and helped us identify an anomaly that hasn't come about over the many years at this platform.
Is JCM your default BV that you insert or not? Or customer
It's
choice?
customer of choice. So
You don't have a default.
This one was at Red Rock Resort. They prefer JCM, so that's what the machine had, and that's why it occurred at their location.
Do you have a big footprint of these outside of Nevada already?
Yes, we do.
What was the reasoning and logic behind going this path as opposed to, in terms of acquiring third-party assets?
Yep. So MTD Gaming, whose assets we acquired in 2020, they have a footprint in the distributed gaming route market, primarily in Montana, South Dakota, and Louisiana. Those are markets that Ainsworth traditionally hasn't operated in. So it's a complementary business line. And so this is us kind of taking that product that's been very successful in those markets and bringing it to Nevada.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Thank you very much. Member Watkins.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to confirm there were no issues after the software was changed. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Neither at the Red Rock location or the other 2 locations?
That is correct. No locations after we made that change.
And what were the other 2 locations for the field trial?
You have that.
The Cannery Hotel Casino and Gold Coast Hotel and Casino.
You might need to move the microphone.
I'm sorry. Apologies. Cannery Hotel Casino and Gold Coast Hotel and Casino.
In each of these instances, is it correct that, am I correct in understanding that the money was returned to the patron?
That is correct.
And our technology division has reported that there were no disputes reported by the patron as well. There were no issues other than the bill validator issue. Is that correct?
That is correct.
What was the popularity of the game compared to similar games?
I'm the geek, so I don't know from the operation side of what how financially rewarding it was for the operator, but every time we would go, it seemed to be full. So
Okay, all right. I'm happy to support this application. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you, Member Watkins. One final question, just from my own sort of state of mind, or just state of mind. So bill goes in, it's pulled out. The system queries the bill validate it, and there's no record that's pushed to the system, to the accounting system, for example. And so there's a TITO, there's a ticket. Or, I'm sorry, there's a ticket that's also trying to queue it at the same time, right? So there's no. I guess what I'm getting at is there's no payment. There's no extra payment to the patron in any case.
that's great. All the accounting was was still correct. There was a bill that got stacked. They did not get credit for it, and then they called the attendant. The attendant came over. They checked the cash box, saw that it was the last bill in, and then looked at the logs to see what was happening. And so the patron was made whole. There was no problem with that. And then once we corrected the driver software for JCM, then we didn't have that occur.
Great, wonderful. Thank you very much.
And if I may, Chair Gibson, one point I wanted to clarify for the record was, while Ainsworth Game Technology Limited and Ainsworth Game Technology Incorporated are both licensed in Nevada, and I believe the limited was referenced on the agenda, it actually will be Ainsworth Game Technology Incorporated that's the manufacturer and distributor in Nevada.
Okay.
Thank you.
And so with the amendment of the software, it's fully yours. There's no assumption or responsibility. Vision here, it's yours.
It is ours. The intellectual property is licensed from the parent company limited.
Okay. Thank you very much. That I would ask for a motion.
I will make that motion. I move to recommend final approval of the Palo gaming device.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Aye. Thank you. Thank you very much for.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one further thing, thanks to the chair and members, Ainsworth would also like to thank Chief Barbie, the technology division, as well as engineer Russ Marston for their help and support in this process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
All right. Next item, Secretary, our regulation.
You have 3 regulation agenda items regarding proposed amendments to Nevada Gaming Commission Regulations 5, 6, and 29, as noted on the agenda.
Okay. Have we received any public comment via email?
No, we have not.
Any of these? Okay. So I believe that let's then go to discussion. Do we have a bag here?
And Mr. Chairman, I can present from right here if you like, or from the
Please.
podium.
You're fine there.
Okay.
Once you be comfortable.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Madam Secretary, Mike Somps for the record with the Attorney General's office. And today before you for consideration are proposed changes to regs 5, 6, and 20, as indicated by Madam Secretary. The changes to reg 6 and 29 are contained in drafts dated June 15th of this year. And the changes to reg 5 are contained in a draft dated June 16th of this year. These drafts have been posted to the board's website since June 24th. And so they've been available to the public since that time. I'm prepared to go through these changes if you'd like, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I mean, if you could just provide, I mean, the first one, it's reg 5, it's fairly simple, right? So reporting once a year, right? So.
Yes, and
Please.
if you mind, I'll go through them, and then there are some possible changes to reg 5050.
Please go ahead.
But for some background, these changes were initiated from the Tax and License Division, in particular former Chief Douglas, and under the tutelage of Member Katsaros.
Tutelage?
Yeah,
All
sure.
right.
And also there have been some participation from the Audit Division on these changes. I don't believe there's anything controversial about these, but they are looking to modernize these regs and cleaning them up. So moving to reg 5.050. This is related to information on sharing and gaming profits that is to be submitted to the board by licensees. It is proposed here that licensees report who they are sharing revenue with annually instead of quarterly. Additionally, an exemption is created for those circumstances where the commission has approved the sharing in profits or where a statute allows for the sharing in profits. And then there is a language added to make it clear that failure to comply is an unsuitable method of operation. With this particular section, before moving on, there have been some recent, I guess, additional internal discussions about when this annual report should be submitted. Currently, it's proposed to be submitted with the renewal on January of each year, and I think a Tax and License would prefer that it match up with the submission of the NGC 9, which is, I believe, on April 1st. So if that is something that the board wants to entertain, I do have some possible language to deal with that. But first, I'll go on with the other proposed changes. For 5.090, related to unlicensed games, in subsection 1, unlicensed language or some unnecessary language is removed. For subsection 2, again, some unnecessary language is removed. Further, the notice requirement to the board when a game is removed from license status is removed and replaced with a record-keeping requirement. Finally, for games that are in unlicensed status but not removed from the gaming floor, the list of things that must be removed from the game is expanded to include any power cords, removable media containing control programs, or anything else designated by the board chair. Also, the board inspection requirement for games left on the floor is removed. For subsection 3, we have some unnecessary language removed, and the notification and reinspection requirements when a game is placed back into license status is removed. Turning to Reg 6.040, in subsection word, the word microfiche is deleted. It's kind of an antiquated method of maintaining records, so we're looking to get rid of that. In subsection 2, this is language to make clear which licensees must keep general accounting records on a double entry system of accounting. For Reg 6.050, this is another change to make it clear what records of ownership LLC licensees must keep and provide. LLC licensees are not currently identified, so this will rectify that. For 6.080, there are some updating changes to ensure operators of intercasino link systems are included in the requirements related to audited financial statements. Also, there is proposed language under subsection 10 that would allow the board chair to waive any of the requirements of Reg 6.080. And then turning to Reg 29, in 29.020, the definition of slot machine is simplified to just simply reference the statutory definition. In 29.030, regarding how tax and license fees are paid on one slot machine, subsection 1 is updated to reflect other means for paying to play a slot machine, such as through, for example, a wagering account. in 29.040 regarding how tax and license fees are paid on multiple slot machines, subsection 1 is deleted as that's outdated. And then the language independently of is deleted. And then finally, 29.090 is deleted. And those are all of the changes, Mr. Chair.
Well, in the bowels of libraries, they still do have microfiche. Right. And if you're doing genealogy, they do as well.
In the bowels of the gaming division as well.
Yeah, right. So back to the yearly report. I want to move the date. Note that it is paying. What did you say it is? I mean, it's an NGC 9 filing, but April what?
April 1st. But I think maybe just to create some flexibility here, we just add some language to make it as determined by the board chair.
Yeah, I think that's good. No, on TNG.
And so I could read what that language would be.
You would.
So at the last sentence of 5.050, it would read, such reports shall be submitted annually on a date as determined by the board chair.
Okay.
So the idea would be that we just add it to NGC 9. Those go out on March 1st. They're due March 31st. And part of this just goes back to the whole, interactions with the chiefs and staffs and saying, hey, can we clean up some of this stuff? Is this useful anymore? What's the validity of this? And that's kind of where, he mentions Chief Douglas, pointing some of these out. I think it's my initial thought was, we've had a couple of these already where we've cleaned up some of the obligations, limit some of the obligations on the reporting side from the licensees, but only to the extent that we can still have the proper amount of regulatory oversight with these things.
No, I appreciate greatly staff, you all, Watkins, AG's office working to sort of debride the regs. Stuff just adds up. It's old, and you don't need it. So this is actually an exercise that's not adding something sort of new to the sort of structure. It's cleaning up what we have. So thank you for doing it. It's above.
And Mr. Chair, I believe there are tax and license staff in Las Vegas, and this latest proposed language change to 5050, I did not have the opportunity to run by them, but if they have any concerns with it, perhaps this is the time to voice them.
Yeah. So representatives, please. Who is it? Is that Chief Langsavat?
Chief Langsavat down here in Las Vegas.
Okay.
We do not have any change for that. That's good language for us.
All right. As for a motion, that.
Member Watkins, you want me to make the motion on this?
No, I'm sorry. I'll just add that I think this is Chief Langsavat's first appearance at a public meeting as chief. So welcome. Is that correct, Chief Langsavat?
I didn't even ask him to state his name for the record.
Yes,
please state your name for the record.
Chan Langsavat, Chief of Tax and License. It is, I believe, my second time on the podium ever, but first as chief, though.
Well, again, congratulations publicly.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Yeah. And I'll add to the commentary. I've had an opportunity to review the proposed regulation amendments and believe they provide needed clarification, modernization, and changes, and I'm in support of the proposed amendments.
Thank you very much. All right, that I'd ask for a motion.
I move to recommend to the Commission the adoption of proposed amendments to regulations 5, 6, and 29 as read into the record by Secretary Rupert, with drafts dated June 15, 2022 for proposed changes to Reg 6 and 29, and the draft dated June 16, 2022 for proposed changes to Reg 5, and that such adoption be made effective upon Nevada Gaming Commission approval.
And Member Watkins, I assume that you would like your motion to include the changes to Reg 5.050 that we discussed today?
Yes, as amended on the record.
Thank you, and I'll create a new draft for that particular reg.
Thank you.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Aye. All right, thank you. Okay, that brings us to our next agenda item. Madam Secretary, would you please read that into the record?
This item is the consideration of appointments to the Esports Technical Advisory Committee as noted on the agenda.
Okay. Mr. John McKella, please.
Good morning, Chair Gibson, Member Katsaros, Member Watkins, Madam Secretary. For the record, I'm John McKella with the Attorney General's Office. On your agenda this morning is an item to appoint a new member to the Esports Technical Advisory Committee. The proposed new member is Robert Forbes. Robert Forbes is Vice President Legal at Activision Blizzard. In this role, Robert is responsible for legal matters relating to Activision Blizzard esports, including Overwatch League and Call of Duty League, as well as commercial partnerships across Activision Blizzard and King Games. Among other responsibilities, Robert leads the league's competitive integrity programs, including third-party monitoring of betting lines, player education, confidential reporting, performance-enhancing drug testing, and implementation and enforcement of company and league-wide integrity policies. Prior to joining Activision Blizzard, Robert served as Vice President, Legal and Government Affairs for the Washington Commanders and Red Zebra Broadcasting from 2013 to 2017. In that role, Robert was the lead business attorney for the team and its related broadcasting businesses, including commercial agreements with MGM and FanDuel. Robert started his legal career as an associate in the litigation and sports industry practice groups of Proskauer's New York and Los Angeles offices from 2007 to 2012, representing various major sports leagues and teams in a variety of commercial disputes, antitrust compliance counseling, and broadcast distribution matters. If you choose to appoint Robert Forbes to the Esports Technical Advisory Committee, it would be pursuant to the second revised order pertaining to the Esports Technical Advisory Committee.
I do not have that order in my materials. Would you, so what is the meeting requirement? Is it maximum once quarter or is it minimum?
It's maximum once per quarter unless the chair or designee otherwise approves.
Okay, so Mr. Forbes would make this 8.
Yes.
And did you say that that he manages the leagues? What is it? Their proprieties. What is it? Their standards. I mean, their
Integrity
program.
program.
Integrity program. So, are we looking at an intellectual property owner? What is it? Intellectual property owner that's running a league. This is sanctioning, I guess, effectively the sanctioning body.
According to my notes, he would qualify as a publisher under NRS 463.830.
Interesting. So we've got leagues like, we've got sanctioning bodies like ESIC and others, and then we have intellectual property publishers or publishers that are also running leagues. It's an interesting component. Okay. All right, Madam or Member Watkins, do you have any comment on this?
Yes, I do. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. McKella. Is Mr. Forbes with us in the Las Vegas or Carson City office at all? No? Okay. Yeah, so I'll just say Mr. Forbes has an impressive background and qualifications, whether it relates to his current role at Activision Blizzard or a leading developer and publisher of interactive, which is a leading developer and publisher of interactive entertainment, or his legal roles related to the NFL in the past. The Esports Technical Advisory Committee was developed to make recommendations to the board on matters related to the integrity of esports wagers. Mr. Forbes, I think, will be a fitting addition to this committee, given his legal background and his current role overseeing integrity programs for esports. And I also believe that he will be a great addition because he will be able to transfer some of the knowledge that he's gained from working in the NFL, some of that sports world knowledge over here to our esports world where we're trying to newly develop this regulatory structure. I think that will be very beneficial to the committee and us as we try to regulate this esports here in Nevada. So I'm in support of his application, or in support of his appointment, I should say.
I mean, he's clearly a qualified applicant. Let me ask this question. Do you know if they have their own integrity program that they manage and it's written in-house, or do they use like WADA or sought for an outside entity to manage that. You know,
From what I read, it seems like they have their own integrity standards, but I cannot say that with certainty.
it's interesting. That's a good addition. This background. Okay. Have any comments?
No, just my thoughts are simple. He looks like he's got a good background. He fills the role as required under statute for the publisher role, given his existing role with Blizzard. So yeah, I'm fine with moving forward and supporting his appointment here.
Okay. And have you set meeting dates going forward?
The next meeting date is July, I want to say 18th, next Monday. And then it's my understanding that we're looking at the week between the board and commission meetings in October.
Okay, great.
Is Monday's meeting going to be broadcast via Zoom?
I believe so, yes. But don't quote me on that.
I'm not. The transcriber's quoting you right now.
Okay, I'd ask for a motion.
I move to appoint Robert Forbes to the East Board Technical Advisory Committee pursuant to the second revised order concerning the committee.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brings us to our final item. Madam Secretary, public comment.
This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming-related matters.
Okay. Is there anyone in Carson City? At this point, it's staff. So any staff that would like to say anything? Okay, none. What about in Las Vegas? Is there anyone in Las Vegas who would like to make a public? Looks like none. All right. With that, that'll close our public comment section, and this concludes the Gaming Control Board meeting for the month of July. So we are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you all.